In this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through how to draw this shape in AutoCAD. So I have my shape here. It's a lock plate, and this is in the collection of drawings that are in the collaboration drive, the Punza Drawings AS1100. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start off by drawing the side view. The side view, the reason we want to draw that is because it's a rectangle, and we're going to start by drawing this shape. That's going to be the first thing we do. Now, when we draw rectangles from a starting location, and sorry, I'm going to redo that. When we draw rectangles, we draw it from a starting origin here, so we're going to draw it at 100 to the left, or 100 to the right, or 100 in the X direction, and 0 up, or 0 in the Y direction. So we're going to draw it from that place, and then the height, well, we'll go with the X direction. The width of our rectangle is 52, and the height of our rectangle will be 56. That's based on the dimensions shown here. So that's what we're drawing first. Now, to do that, I should have got this going already. We're going to go to AutoCAD. So we're typing into, so we went down to the Start menu, go to AutoCAD. Now, AutoCAD takes a minute or two to load. So while it's doing that, I will talk a little bit more about what we're going to be doing for our drawing. I've drawn this on the board for those in the class so they can see what we're doing at the same time. But you also probably should have a piece of paper in front of you that you can use with both these dimensions. Actually, because it's the second activity, the class will probably only have this drawing. So this drawing here is called an isometric drawing. That means that the angles, and I'll just draw that quickly here, that if I draw not the most straight of lines, and I'll maybe make the width a bit thicker. So if I draw that line there, this angle here is 30 degrees, and I'm going to use a better example. If I go here, this is 30 degrees, and this is 30 degrees. Isometric kind of means something like equal measure. There are other ways of drawing this object. We could also have drawn this object at 45 degrees. So I'm going to draw this really quickly and not very well with a mouse. We could have drawn it like this. And that style of drawing, can anyone remember what that style of drawing is called? It's not isometric because it's not an equal measure. It's drawn at 45 degrees. Girls in the back who are talking, can you tell me what that shape is, what that type of drawing is called? 3D. Yeah, well, the other one's 3D too. We don't use the term 3D, we use the term pictorial. But this one, for those of you who go to the gym, your muscles on the side. Oh, obliques. Alright, so this is an oblique drawing. So it's drawn, it's slanted. So oblique is slanted, and it's drawn at 45 degrees there. Okay, hopefully AutoCAD should be pretty close to being drawn. So you only have been given the isometric drawing. What we want to do is we want to turn that isometric drawing into this version, this drawing here that has 3 views. Each of the views, it has straight sides. Ortho means straight, gon means sides, straight sides. We're looking at this in the top view, front view, side view. What do we call this layout? There's 2 different projections. There's one we use in Australia, the one we use in Europe. Which one is this one? Well, we're using the one that's used in Australia. I think other English-speaking countries use this same view. It is first or third angle? Third angle projection. The symbol, if we're going to show the symbol for third angle projection, it is a target, because third starts with a T. It's a target, then a flag. The flag always looks like a less than symbol. If we're in France, right, they use first angle projection. In France, it would be the other way. It would be a flag, then a target. In Australia, we use third angle, so you do the target, then the flag. What that means is that the top view is on top. To me, that makes a lot of sense, but maybe it's because I've grown up with it. The top view is on top, and that the side view is, if I look at it from this angle, if I look at the angle, let's say if I go around that corner, I would be going around the right-hand side. When I look at the right-hand side, I see the right-hand side. That makes a lot of sense to me. So that's the format, that's the method we use. Funnily enough, the first drawing, I drew the side on the wrong side because I ran out of space. Not the best example, so that's why I'm using this one. Okay, so we're going to AutoCAD. It's loaded now. and I'm going to go to New. New is in the top corner up here next to the big A. If I go to the big A, I think I can get to New there as well, but I just want to go to a new one. So I'm creating a new drawing. Now, when I create a new drawing, it's going to ask me what kind of template do I want to use, right? And I'm going to use AutoCAD ISO, so AutoCAD ISO, but it doesn't make a huge amount of difference. Now, to start, there's nothing on my page, but a lot of the time while I'm waiting, people draw stuff while I'm waiting. So if that's the case, I tell them go let's just draw something just for the sake of it, right? We're going to draw a couple of things. Yeah. Okay, drawing some scribble. That's what a lot of people do. I'm going to do Control A to select everything, delete, and then to get started, I press Escape. Escape means that I'm ready to input a command. Okay. So the first thing we said we're going to do, I'll just go back to my drawing, is that we said we're going to draw this rectangle. I'll just get the rectangle tool. We're going to draw this rectangle, and it starts at right 100, up 0, or x 100, y 0. And we're going to draw this shape. So, first of all, I'm going to type in, now, you can go up here and you can select the tools from the mouse, with the mouse. That's fine. But most people who use AutoCAD a lot, especially like people who've been using AutoCAD for more than 20 years, because it used to be a lot more difficult. It was a lot less intuitive 20 years ago, so you had to use the commands. So if you type in REC, okay, it will autocomplete rectang. Yep, I don't know, I couldn't write rectangle, but yeah, REC is short for rectangle. So I'm typing in REC, and that's going to draw me a rectangle. And then it comes up both where my mouse is and down the bottom here. It says rectang. Specify first corner or chamfer, elevation, fillet, thickness, width. We just want to start with a starting point. That's what it's asked for, so we asked for starting point. We're going to draw this starting point. How far did we say we're going to draw it on the X direction? How far to the right? 100 is what we said, yeah? 100. So I'm going to type in 100, and then you can either type in comma or tab, and then 0. I tend to use the tab key, but you know, it's okay, you do whatever suits you. Now, how high did I say this drawing was going to be? I said that the height, actually we want the width first. The width is 52. You'll have to take my word on that, but that's the width. The width is 52. And then the height is 56. So I'm going to type in 52 tab 56. Now, I've got this tiny little rectangle, and sometimes, if you guys have really been drawing all over the place, you might not even be able to see the rectangle. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to press Escape, and then I'm going to press Z for zoom, and then of all the choices I want Extends. What Extends will do is Extends will show me everything that is in my drawing. So I'm going to hit E. Now I can hit Enter or Space. In AutoCAD, a space is treated like an Enter, and it's pretty easy to find the space bar because it's a big key, and I can just hit it with my thumb. Okay, whoa, zoomed right in. A little bit too close. We want to zoom out a little bit, but now I can see my 0, 0 coordinate. That's this X and Y. They call this the origin mark, and it tells you your angles. You can actually change the X and Y coordinates and that sort of stuff. We're not going to worry about that, but so I just want to zoom out enough that I have some space. What I just did there is I just panned. To move around, I just held down the mouse key and moved around. If you're on a Mac, you might just be able to use 2 fingers to scroll around, but that's what we're doing there. Okay, so I've had a student who's just lost their work, so what I'm going to say is, assuming the rectangle actually exists, you want to hit Escape. We'll do it again. Escape, Z, space, E, space. And it'll zoom right in, and then I'm going to zoom back out, and I'm going to move it to somewhere that's convenient for me so you guys can see what's going on. Okay, so what am I going to do next? I've got that rectangle. To be honest, I'm happy with that shape for the moment. The reason I drew that rectangle is because it gives me a nice starting point to get used to what I want to do. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this one here. I'm going to draw the top view. Top view is a good place to start, especially if you're drawing with paper. Top view is a good place to start. You want to give yourself some room for dimensions. So on paper, I like to start this position here about 50 from the corner and 50 from the corner. You might be drawing borders if you do graphics as well. In the engineering studies course, we no longer do that. We just, it's all quick freehand sketches, which makes a lot of sense. I'll quickly address that. So the fact is that these days, professional, say, engineers or manufacturers, they probably won't hand draw drawings anymore. Right? Obviously, in the 90s, maybe it was 50-50. In the 80s, it was more likely that you would draw your professional drawings by hand than on computer. These days, a professional engineering firm, it's not acceptable to hand in final drawings that have been drawn by hand. Now, there are some reasons in the HSA they talk about all the time. Why do we like AutoCAD drawings? It's not because it's fast. It's not because it's more accurate. It's because it's easier to interact with other devices. Like, so for instance, surveyors, they can use things called a total station that will, when they do their survey of the land, it will automatically enter all the details in. Or if you're, say, a metalworker or a machiner, you might use a CNC machine or a laser cutter, and it can read the digital input. That's probably the most important reason. Also, it's a lot easier to share a digital drawing than it is to post a photocopy all the time. It's a lot easier to modify a drawing done on a computer. It's a lot easier to store work on a computer and have access to it. So when I worked for a council, we had giant pieces of paper the size of a dinner table, and for bridges with all the details on it. These are bridges that were 100 years old. And if you wanted to look at the data, you had to get a piece of paper that could be torn or burnt or get moldy, and very hard to read, very hard to store. It had to be stored in these massive cabinets. So these days, if you're designing that same bridge, you'd have electronic files that you could very easily, read and modify. And there's some other advantages. There's like more information in a digital drawing, but that's the main reasons. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start drawing a line from this location, 0x 80y. So 0 to the right and 80 up. So I'm going to draw the line command. I could go up here and type in line, but I'm going to type in L for line. So, yeah, I've got a question. What's up? Okay, so I'm going to go 0 tab 80. Enter. Now, you can see here I've got my line. Now, from here, there are a couple of ways that we can specify. Boys at the back? There's a couple of ways that we can specify this line that we want to draw. So if I go to this thing here, we can see my line, I want to make it 50 in the up direction. So I'm going to go 52, sorry. 52, I wrote 25. Now, the thing is, I want to make sure it's going straight up. Ben, stand up, go over here. I want to go 52 up. I don't know why my computer seems to be frozen. 52 up, but just for this one time, I want to specify the exact angle. So to specify the exact angle, I'm going to use the less than sign, and then you can see that it's already predicted that I want to go 90. Just stand for me. Then, for the next line, I want to go, let's have a look at my drawing. I've said it's 80. So I want to go 80. Now, if I type in 80, 80 less than sign, it says I want to go 0 degrees. So we'll quickly talk about the angles. I'll hit enter because that's right. So the thing is, in AutoCAD, they specify the angles measured from the horizontal. So this is 0, 90, 180, 270, 330, and back to 0. Now, that doesn't make a lot of sense if you used to say compass directions. So if you're a surveyor, that wouldn't make any sense to you at all. You want north to be 0 and you want to go clockwise. Whereas these dimensions start at 0 and go anti-clockwise. They start at east and go anti-clockwise. Now, you can change that. I don't care enough to change it. I mean, my attitude is I would rather know how to deal with AutoCAD straight out of the box. But I will tell you that it is possible to change it if it's something that's making your life difficult all the time. Okay, so now the next thing I want to do is I want to draw this line down here. Now it's 14 down. Now, modern AutoCAD, you don't need to specify the angle. It will snap to an angle, right? It will snap to an orthogonal angle of, say, 90 degrees or 180 degrees or 0 degrees. It will snap to those things. You can change the number of snaps. You can change it so it snaps to 30 or 45. Okay, I'm not sure why I've got this frozen again. I'll just try again. 14. Okay, Then I'm going to keep going. So I'm going in 30. So again, I'm just snapping. Now, you can tell that it's going to snap because of those green lines that are being drawn down. Now, the problem is here, I don't really know how long this line is supposed to be. So I'm just going to draw the whole thing because I don't know how long it's supposed to be. My drawing didn't specify how long that was, so I don't know how long it is. So I'm going to just stop drawing there. And I'm going to pick up my line again by pressing L space and then going across to 80. And then going up 10, which is what the drawing says. You'll just trust me on that one. And then you can see how I get this cross where it wants to intersect. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go and cross that intercept. So that's where the snap tool can be really useful, but there are times where you might want to turn off the snap tool. If it's getting in your way, you might want to turn it off. Now, to adjust this line, I've got this line here that's too long. I'm going to show you two ways to do it. Now, the easy way to do it is I can just click the line, and then if I double-click this point, I can then just go until it snaps, and that works fine. Right? That's a fine way. But there are times where you want to cut off multiple lines, and there's a tool. Especially in the old days, you couldn't do that. So I'm going to type in TR for trim, and it will cross. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut. So first of all, is I'm selecting the lines that I want to be my scissor cut. So think about when you cut paper, that sometimes you have that picture with little scissors and a dotted line. I want you to choose the line that is going to be the cutting line. Then hit space TR, and then I'm going to select those two objects and see how they disappear. I wasn't really planning on using the trim tool. It's just a useful tool, so I thought I'd draw it. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I need to draw these two lines here. Now these two lines, they're the same as this line on the far left. They're just spaced 20 away. Now I could figure out the coordinates and draw that up, but that's more difficult than I want to do. So I can just type instead O, which will give me the command offset. And what offset will do is it says, how far away do you want to copy this line? And I want to copy the line 20 millimeters away. So I select the objects, and it says, okay, do you want to copy it on the left or do you want to copy it on the right? And I want to copy it on this side. And I can do, now because it remembers the last command I did, if I just click this again, it will, there we go. It's done. Now, we're going to change our line types in a second, but we're not doing that yet. So let's just, for the moment, we're just going to worry about that later. Okay, so now, what I want to do is I want to draw, I know this dimension now, so I might just draw, it's fine to sometimes draw lines that I want to either modify or collect. I actually know that I want it to go to 0. I'll worry about that later. Okay, so I've got that line, and then I want a new line. I just hit space to draw a new line. I didn't have to do it that time. And I know that my line wants to start there. Okay, so I've got my line starting there, and I want to see, well, how long is this thing across? I don't have a dimension here. I do have it there, 60, but I didn't dimension it here. I would have to know it was 80 minus 20. It is dimension as 60 there, so I'm going to draw 60 across. So 60, enter. Now, how far up? It is 24 up. 24 up. And then I'm going to go across. Now, I can't guarantee that it's going to go to 0. So I can enter it in as a relative coordinate. If I wanted to know that I wanted... Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, see this line here? I don't want that big long line anymore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the trim command that we talked about earlier. So they're the 2 points that I want to cut things from. So I hit space, and then you can see that I trimmed those lines. Should be able to just delete that one. I deleted that with the delete key, but you can also use E for erase. Okay, so I've now got this shape. So now what I want to do is I want to get some additional lines. I want to get this line here for my hidden detail. And I want to get this line here for my hidden detail. And I'm going to use the trim command again to cut this off, and this off, and this off. So when I hit space, it cuts. There we go. Now, what we want to do is I want to show you how to create new layers. Okay, so when we go to new layers, if we go to layers property tool here, what I want to do is I want to create a new layer. And so the new layer is this button here with a little orange asterisk, sort of fireball shaped thing. And I want to call this layer, we can have like layer 1, right? We could call that well, okay, our normal lines are thick, dark lines. Thick, dark, solid lines. But we also want a hidden detail line. So I'm going to call this one here hidden. And when I go to the properties of this layer, I'll hit enter. You guys may or may not face at some point, so hopefully not. Okay, so now that I can actually see what I'm doing here in this text box, I want to go to line type and see how it says continuous. I don't want it to be continuous. I want it to have broken lines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to load a new line type. And I want ISO dash. Okay, there are some other ones later, like we'll use long dot dash later when we do circles for center lines. But for the moment we want ISO dash. Now that we've loaded that in, I want to select it and I click OK. And it will say, see how it says AutoCAD ISO. We can't see that whole thing. I can close this now, I don't need that anymore. And then when I select this object, I want to select, which is the, do I even want that line? I don't think I want that line at all. Okay, so this line here and this line here, they are going to be hidden detail lines. I have one more that I have to draw in a second. Okay, so I can select that and I can change it. So just to show you there, up here on the layers panel, see how it currently says 0. If I go up here and select that and I change it to hidden, it's now showing me it's a hidden detail line. And when I want to draw new lines that are not hidden detail, I can do that later. Okay, so what I might do is just to a good practice is generally people don't like to use the 0 layer. So I'm going to put everything back to thick, dark, solid. And now that I've got everything as thick, dark, solid, I'm just going to change the lines that are hidden detail. So that's hidden detail. That one, that's actually no hidden detail there. That's hidden detail, and I'm going to. This one I'm going to move in a second. That'll show you one more command that's interesting. Okay, so I realize now this line here is not a hidden detail line. It's that line there that's hidden detail. So what I need to do is I need to move this object. Now, to move that object, it's 40, it's 10 away. Right? I did a bit of quick maths there. To the move command, I'm going to press M for move. Now, when I move, I can specify the base point or displacement. So I'm going to I can say I want it to move a D. I can say how far I want to move, or I can specify it relative to this location. So I want to move it relative to that location, and then I want it to move 10 at 0 degrees. And I've moved the line. I can also copy, right? With CP, we'll copy a line, and I didn't copy a line earlier, I used offset, but you get the same idea. Okay, so now let's have a look at what else is missing from my drawing. This line is too high. Okay, so I have to fix that up. Okay, so from here, I'm drawing this shape. I'm drawing it with a hidden detail line. I don't want it to be hidden detail line, I want it to be solid, thick, dark, solid. How long do I want that to be? It is specified as 16 down. So should be able to specify this by just dragging line. I can modify it to 16. Back in the old days of AutoCAD, that would have been more difficult. I would have had to have drawn a construction line and then trimmed it. Again, I want that to be thick, dark. Now, I want to trim a couple of lines. So I'm going to go to TR for trim. I'm going to select those two, and then I'll trim this, and trim this. And that's now getting closer to what I want to draw. I still haven't got everything. I want to draw this line across. I don't know why everything by default is coming across as hidden. Maybe because it's the layer order. I might just change that layer order to make... Can I drag that one down? Okay. TR... And I want to click that and that. That deletes those lines. Okay, so what else have we got to do? We've got to draw these two lines here. So that's going to be 10 from the edge, and that's going to be 14 from the edge. The reason why this is not bad is... So I'm going to draw this line here, and then I'm going to offset that line. So specify distance. I want to specify it 10, and then I want to offset that shape. Now, some people might say, well, it's bad practice to draw a line and leave it. what I probably should have done, I'm going to show you now, is, so I created that line. Excuse me. Standing. Line. I'm going to go from here to here. And then I can move the line. Right? Move it. Specify objects. Set location. And then move it 10. And so that way I'm less likely to forget that I have a line, because it's just bad practice to have a whole bunch of lines there. Another way I could have done it is I could have gone here 14 and then gone up to here. That's probably a more common way of doing it, but you do have difficulty in deleting that line a little bit. Okay, so that's our drawing. Now the thing is, the question does actually say fully dimension and identify the drawing. So I might not worry about text today. Start off by just looking at how does the dimension tool even work. Okay, so what I want to do is I want a dimension from here to here. And when I do that, I want to specify how far away is that line going to be. Now you might say 10 is the standard, but actually I want to make it 20 because I want to have some dimensions inside, what we call nested dimensions. I'm actually really happy with that. I must have changed the dimension properties previously. I'm just trying to think, how do I specify? It might be here, ISO standard might be how I set the dimension standards. Okay, so I've got ISO 25. So there's a couple of things that let's just say if we want to create a new set, so I want to start with copy of ISO 20. We'll call it LP ISO 25. Right, we actually want to follow the Australian standard, but we're going to start with the ISO 125. That will work for us. Okay, so a couple of things we want to look at. So we want to specify how far do we want our little arrows, our extenders, to go up. Now you can see what that looks like if we add like 5. It'll show us a preview. That's too far. I would usually use 2. And then how far offset from the origin, which is how far away do the dimensions are they from the thing that we're looking at. So again, I want to say 2. Now, the next thing here is arrows. We want to use closed-filled arrows. In Australia, the expectation is that you draw arrows that are 3 millimeters long and 1 millimeter wide. Okay, so the arrow side, well, I just said should be 3, so I'm going to specify that to 3. We don't need a center mark, so we're going to say no center mark. Now, break size, we don't want that. Preceding dimension above text. Arc length symbol. Okay, that's for arcs. We're not really worried about arcs at the moment. Text height. Okay, so I could be wrong here, but we're going to go with, we want the text height for our dimension. Oh, that probably is here. Oh, this is height off the line. 1.5 is fine for that. That's actually, yeah, that's fine. Text height. And so for titles and drawing numbers, okay, we're using more like dimensions. Yeah, it says 2.5. That's what we want to use. Okay, good. I'm glad we checked that. Okay, so we want the writing above and centered, and then view direction left to right. So the idea is that whenever we're doing straight vertical lines, we're always supposed to have the dimensions written above the line, but we write them always to the left, right? I like to think of Beyonce, right? She has a song about, being to the left. Okay, so that will be, okay, precision. We want the precision to be the nearest decimal. We want to use, in Australia, we use full stops to show decimals anyway, if we do want to show that detail. We don't use commas. In Europe, they use commas. We want to use millimeters, so I think that's all okay. So I was pretty happy with that, but I'm now happier, so I'm closing. And so now, it does look a little close though, so just check that I am in the standard that we want to go to LP. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to keep dimensioning some stuff. Okay, so that's 52, and we remember I said I wanted to be 10 mil away. So now I said I wanted to, this one here I set to 20 mil because I wanted to, I didn't snap properly. I wanted it to be 20 mil because I want to have nested ones. So this is me doing a nested one. Now sometimes AutoCAD will try to be helpful and say, hey, do you want to do this one? And that's fine. Sometimes that's useful. Okay, so it's 2020. I don't need that dimension. I can now. Here's an example of it being helpful. It's like, hey, you want to do this one, and I do want it to be that one, but I want it to be in the same height as that. Okay, I want to have these. So let's see if I can select that dimension. There we go. Set that 10 mil away, and then I'm hitting space for it to remember. No, it won't do that by default. Now, I just point out, see how that dimension line is coming down here? It's coming down to here. That's about right. So that you want to show that now, when I print this, I will want my dimension lines on a different layer, right? So I probably should collect that now.